How's it going, everybody? My name is Hut Solo. I am a member of the Cardano Buds team, Digital Syndicate, worked on a lot of other projects, including CamFDM and Lords of Acid. And I've written several applications that work on the Cardano blockchain. The big one that I'm currently working on is called the Morphium, which is a combination of minting services, Twitter, campaign functionality, and a lot of Discord functionality. And as part of that, I have developed a tool that is known as the Acid Exchange. I wrote this tool distinctly to make it so two people who have certain fungible tokens can exchange them with each other. Currently, I'm a big fan of the Cardania project. I have been for a long time. And they recently released their trading cards. I've been trying to level my cards, and I've had quite a bit of success, but I've also found, a few places where I don't necessarily have the correct terraforms to receive all of the materials I need to level all of my cards, but I have a lot of other ones that I don't need. So I wrote a tool where you can basically connect two parties that have an excess of one token and need another, and you can do it all within Discord. So what you're looking at here, this is my Discord channel for the Morphium. And there's not a lot of activity here because I don't really make this public. It's mostly used for testing and demonstrations. And I'm sure at some point that I'll end up using it for a lot more than that. But for today's example, it's not a heavily trafficked Discord. In here, though, I have a channel set aside distinctly for the Acid Exchange. And actually, before we get to that, let me quickly show you kind of the prerequisites that are needed. You have to be verified. And the way my bot works, if the guild had a default role that would give you access to a bunch of channels, this can hand that out to them. But whether they have that or not doesn't really make much difference. You need to become verified within the system so that we know you're not a bot. So you click on this, it hands you a simple code. You then just click on the complete verification, put in the code, and at that point, if it was handing you a role, you get your role, you get all your channels. I'm an admin in the servers. It's not going to really give me anything more I don't have right now, but I'm sure you get the point. The next thing you need to do is you need to register a wallet. Now, my bot does a lot of things with registered wallets, including, the big coveted role assignment. It can hand out a role depending on which assets you have. And it goes a lot further than that, where like you have certain assets you had a higher value of. You can, okay, 2 of these plus 1 of those, and whatever sort of complex math you want to hand out a role, it can do all that. But for the Acid Exchange, it's used to determine if you have the needed assets to make an exchange. So you are required to register your wallet. So I'm going to walk you through that. So click on Register Wallet. It provides a link, which takes you out to a very simple web page. All you're doing on this web page is connecting your wallet. It'll prompt you for a transaction. Actually, I just realized you can't actually see that. Let me share so you guys can see it. Stop presenting, then I'm going to share the other screen. So, okay, so pretty typical, Web3 wallet connector. You can see it's asking me to sign a transaction, and all it really has here is it's just some data. We're not actually asking you to send any ADA, although I do have the ability to do that if we were to not have a Web3 interface. But in this case, I do. So, all you're really doing is just proving ownership of this wallet by signing a basic transaction. And it's on the other screen showing this verifying. Let me go ahead and reshare that screen because that's the one that's important. And of course, there you go. Well, wallet's already been registered. I've already registered this wallet many, many times over. But if this was a new wallet, it would tell you that it completed successfully. And you can have as many wallets registered as you want. I mean, you might have your wallet spread across multiple wallets. So that only makes sense to be able to register as many as you need. Moving back over to here. So at this point now you've got a registered wallet. You can use that to scan and see what assets you currently have. I have a lot of other options I plan to use that for in the future. But for the asset exchange, again, it's used to determine if you actually have the assets needed to make a transaction. So moving over to the asset exchange tab. Now, this channel will exist in many Discords. Any Discord that has my bot running can have this. They just set up a channel set aside for asset exchange. And then anytime there's a new listing, the listings will pop up here. And you can see I've playing with this quite a bit. I've been playing with with several other people as well, and had a lot of good success with it. But let me kind of take you from the top. So if we use the top level command /asset exchange, it populates with the information that's currently in the database. Right now, the only one I have in there is the Cardania project. So I'll select that. There's the how-to. If you go on that, it'll give you some cursory information. But let me start with really the first big one, which is tradable items. So I've loaded in here all the information for all of the Cardania materials needed to level cards, as well as the RAD tokens, because the RAD tokens are really their chief currency for their in-game application. So it makes sense to add that as well. What you don't see here is other NFTs, although at some point I might write some tools to do NFT transactions in a similar fashion. But again, for right now, this is made distinctly for the fungible tokens. So these are all the assets that are available. Now, everything's been assigned a number. The number obviously correlates to the entry in my database. So you'll see when I go to set up a listing, I need to reference which item number it is. But let me also show you the other things that are under this top level menu. So there's active listings. Right now I have a few active listings. So I'm going to go ahead and show you that. So listing 45 and 47. So 46 is already completed. Everything prior to that completed. And you can see what they're looking for. So in listing 45, they're offering 80 copper in exchange for 20 leather. In listing 47, they're offering 10,000 rad for 10 copper. And the other command, so that's the global, all listings that are live, active right now. But if I wanted to see my stuff distinctly, again, you might have multiple projects. So, this would show you, your dashboard for this particular project, but you'd also be able to look at all your other dashboards as well. If you click on my dashboard, it shows you your current status. So your current active listings, of course, both 45 and 47 are both my listings. And, the disposition of the last 5 completed listings, whether you canceled them, whether they expired, or completed. So we have 2 active listings. Right after that, I'm going to show you canceling a listing. So I've already gone through the process of setting up a listing, and it takes a few seconds for the transaction to go through. So I'm kind of not exactly going to go in the same order you might use this system. But let me start off with canceling a transaction. So I've already put up 10,000 RAD tokens, looking for 10 copper. So let me go ahead and cancel that. So if I go asset exchange and I go down to the cancel listing, I'm going to cancel listing number 47. And so it's already canceled. Obviously gives you a link back to this Discord. If you have a problem, you can open a support ticket. But we should see a transaction come back with 10,000 RAD tokens now. So pretty straightforward if you want to cancel a listing. Listings expire after 3 days. So if there's no match, it's automatically just rejected back after 3 days. But at any time, if you haven't completed your transfer, you can cancel it. So let's say that, listing number 45, they're offering 80 copper in exchange for 20 leather. Let's say that I'd like that copper, but I don't have the leather. So I can go asset exchange and I can do an alternative offer. So I can say, you know what, on listing number 45, I'll offer some RAD tokens. I got plenty of those. So that's RAD tokens number 43. And I'll offer them 500 RAD tokens. Now, before I click go on this, let me walk through what's going to happen. So somebody's previously put up a listing, which I'll do probably a little later in the video, how to actually create a listing. But somebody's already put up a listing. That listing's active because they've already sent their assets in. I've now spotted this listing. I'd like to have the item they're offering, but I don't have, I don't have the asset they're looking for, or at least, or maybe I don't want to offer that asset. I can now make an alternative offer. So as soon as I click send, The system goes out and sends a direct message to the person who made the original listing and lets them know that, hey, somebody is interested and here's what they're offering. And then they have the option to accept it if they'd like to. So you're going to see a direct message come in from the bot. Since it's my listing, I'm obviously going to get the direct message as well. So click go. It is currently scanning my wallet to see, do I have that asset? Because what we don't want to do is send an offer and you don't actually even have the asset. So it takes a few seconds to actually scan through the wallet to see, do you have the asset that you have offered up? And now it obviously did, in fact, find that you have those items. So it has now direct messaged the original lister. And it's letting them know, hey, you have a new offer. Somebody's offering 500 RAD tokens in exchange for your 34 copper for listing ID number 45. This offer expires this time. Use asset exchange accept offer 34. That's because, you know, that's now the alternative offer is number 34. I might be able to clean up the wording on that and make it a little cleaner, but doesn't really make much difference. It tells you then, you know, if you would like to accept this, you run the asset exchange accept offer and use the number 34. So I'll go ahead and do that. I'll say, you know, that sounds great. I'd like that. So as soon as I do that, it's going to then alert the person who sent the offer, which is me. So I'm going to get the direct message as well. And it's going to say, okay, they've gone ahead and accepted your offer. Go ahead and turn in your assets. So let me go ahead and do that. So let me accept the offer. Offer number 34. Okay, it has now direct messaged me. You know, it looked instantaneous, but what it really did was found the person who made the offer and direct messaged them, which also happens to be me. So I have now gotten an alert back saying, hey, your alternative offer has been accepted. Go ahead and send your 500 RAD tokens along with this amount of ADA to the asset exchange. So let me go ahead and do that real quick. And that should complete that transaction. So let me send this. Okay. Send that along with that amount of ADA. And 500 copper, right? No, 500 RAD tokens. Now, if at any point either the wrong asset is sent, you know, or the wrong amount of ADA is sent, this thing will automatically refund any transaction that it does not recognize. The ADA amounts that are specified in the transaction are all unique to the people that are creating these offers and the listings and all that. That's how we know. So if there's multiple people who's offering 500 copper for whatever it is they want, I know who they are based on the amount of ADA that they have turned those assets in with. And all that happens is these, well, for people who understand the blockchain, at the blockchain level, all these are just UTXO sitting on a wallet, and they're basically just waiting to be spent. That spend would either occur if the listing expires, or if it's canceled, or if the transaction completes. Otherwise, it just sits there until the next action to take it on it. So anyways, that is now sending. Once it gets there, we should get an alert that the transaction has completed. Both people would get their alert that the transaction completed. So you'll see that in a few seconds. Here we go. Yep. So it's letting me know that my assets were received. I was the lister. And then, you know, in about a minute or so, the transaction should actually complete. There we go. Less than a minute. And so, again, buyer and seller, it's telling both parties that it's all done. The transaction's complete. Let's go look at my wallet. So let me look at the history here. So there you can see I got back the, right, this was a completed transaction. The reason why you see two assets because I'm both buyer and seller, but you see that the copper went within one UTXO and then the RAD went within another UTXO. So that's how you know it was really designated as two different spends, although in Eternal looks like one. Let's see, I got back my 10,000 RAD from my canceled listing that I created. And then, you know, you see the RAD I sent just now, and in a few seconds, you should see, well, 500 RAD come back along with the copper that I was purchasing. So you'll see that in 2 seconds. Right around now, let's see. Let's see what this gets done syncing. It doesn't take very long. Yeah, so maybe another minute. We should see those appear in the wallet. While we're waiting on that, let's go ahead and create a brand new fresh list. So if I go over here to the asset exchange, and I'm going to create a listing. So the item that I currently own that I'm willing to give up, let's say that I'm going to go ahead and offer some RAD tokens, so 43. I'll offer 1,000 of those. And what I would really like is copper. I'm kind of going to stick with that because I know I have a lot of copper in my wallet. So I'm going to say, I would like copper, and I'd like 10 of those. Okay. It does not scan my wallet to see if I have those RAD tokens. The reason is because the listing doesn't go live until the asset's turned in. So it's kind of irrelevant whether I have it or not. So I don't have it, the listing will never get created. So a little bit of magic happens here after I send in these assets. Let me go ahead and start that process now. So I need to send in 1,000 RAD tokens. Let's see if my transaction's completed here. Should be by now, I imagine. I have a pretty big one. There it is. There's the 2 pieces. So again, the RAD went out in one UTXO, the copper went out in another. So let's go ahead and now create that new listing. So I'm sending to the asset exchange. I've been given a discrete amount of ADA, to specify this is my listing. So let me go ahead and grab that. And let's see, I'm sending RAD. How much RAD? 1,000 RAD. So I need to add that. Okay, RAD 1,000. And we can sign up. While we're waiting for that, let me go ahead and go back to Asset Exchange. And I'm going to do the Asset Exchange, the top level command, and I'm going to do the active listings. We will not see that listing in the active listings because it doesn't exist yet. Well, it does. It's that fast. Of course. Anyways. Yeah, so RAD tokens have been received, new listings live. And the other thing is it shows it on Twitter. So anytime there's a new listing, it sends a tweet out. Now, it's important to mention that anybody running this asset exchange channel, everybody will see the new listings. We want to get the word out. And this is why I want to get this button in many other Discords, because there's going to be a lot of other projects. As long as the listings are visible, everywhere, there's a lot of opportunity for people to make their exchanges. So what I was trying to show you is that the listing wouldn't be there, but of course the assets arrived and the database was updated before I could get to that point. So I'll show you that in a second. When I'll just create a new listing in a few minutes here, and you'll see that without the assets there, it's not showing. But let's say that I'm somebody coming along. I want to see what's out there because maybe there's a whole bunch of listings that have gone by, and also some listings get completed. So we don't know what's current just necessarily by looking at what's on the board. So I'm going to go to Asset Exchange. I'm going to go to Cardania, and I'm going to go to the active listings. Okay, so it's showing, yeah, there's currently only one active listing. So it's listing number 48. They're offering 1,000 RAD in exchange for 10 copper. And so I think I showed you guys the alternative offer, but in this case, I have the 10 copper, and I would like the RAD token. So rather than going through the rigmarole of, making an offer and sending it back and forth, I'm just going to go ahead and complete this transaction. So I'm going to say Asset Exchange, and I'm going to conduct a swap. And I'm going to do it against listing ID number 48. It's now looking at my wallet. Do I have that copper? Because I'm not going to tie up this listing if I didn't have the copper. So it's checked. It shows that I do have the copper in my wallet. So it sets up the transaction. So now it's asking me to send this discrete amount of ADA. So we do that. Send it to Asset Exchange. Go ahead and add the tokens. 10 copper. So add, next, send. That's good. That should just complete that listing without having gone through the additional offer option. So one thing I promised, let me show you creating a new asset listing, but having not yet sent in the item. So I'll just make an arbitrary listing. So asset exchange, let's create a listing. I'm just going to pick something, again, totally random. I'm going to say toxic waste. I'm going to trade 10 of those for 43 RAD tokens. Sorry, 43 is RAD tokens. I'm going to say I would like 1,000 of those. And, it basically says, okay, go ahead and send your 10 toxic waste. I don't know if I have that or not. Doesn't really matter. But what I'm trying to show you here, if I was now somebody who's wanting to know what listings are out there, what's currently available. If I go to Asset Exchange and I go to Cardania and I go to active listings, that will not be an active listing because the assets are not there yet. In fact, there's no listings because the other one just completed. You'll see I obviously got different direct messages let me know that my assets were received as both buyer and seller. And then, that the transactions have wrapped. And of course, if you go back to the wallet, you should now see those completed transactions, although the one just went through, so it's probably not quite there yet. But yeah, it's pretty straightforward. Again, it's kind of allows for quite a bit of flexibility. In the secondary market, so if you're buying NFTs, there's the transaction. If you're buying NFTs, you can make an offer for a different amount of ADA. They may or may not see it. So, they actually have to log into their console. With this, they get a direct message. So it kind of keeps everybody in the know. Again, it also puts up, it sends the listings out to all the Discords. And of course, makes the post on Twitter. So people are following this Twitter account. Of course, there's not very many followers right now, but I'm sure there'll be a lot more once people find out about this. So a great way of getting the word out. It makes it really easy. One of the things you may have noticed or may not have noticed is that there wasn't an option to actually do listings for ADA. So if I go Asset Exchange and do a new listing, or actually, well, it doesn't matter. If I go to Asset Exchange and I show all of the available tradable items, there is no line item for ADA because I didn't really want to build this for people to, I would like to sell this. If you want to sell it, just go over to the secondary market. That's cool. And again, I may add something like that later, but this is distinctly for connecting people who have one material and they would like another. The cost of using the system, you're sending it in with your discrete amount of ADA. Once the actual exchange happens, everything's sent out to the both parties with min ADA, and then what's left over is the fee. Currently, the fee is being shared with the projects that this is set up for. So there is a fee of using the service, but I think for both parties, it works out to be about 3/4 of an ADA or so each. So it's really not that much of a fee anyways. But yeah, again, there's no commission, there's nothing else. And of course, if you cancel your listing or listing expires, it gets sent back. And, the only cost there is the transaction to return it to you. And there's no additional fees. But anyways, hopefully this has been informative. If people have questions, put them down in the comments. I'll try to get to them as soon as I can. And hope you guys enjoy. Thanks a lot.